We got the stupid base in Cuba. Why do we hate using it? Oh, we should give it back to Fidel. Screw that. Just use the damn place. Hell, I say we ought to turn that into of Cuba into a penal colony and send our most dangerous criminals there. So, well, if they do escape, they'll have a 90 mile swim. But a lot of people have made it. It's kind of like Alcatraz. People who weren't supposed to be able to make that swim, but we know that 3 people have yet to have been caught or recaptured after. I think it was 3 people, if I remember correctly, just three guys. But it was doable, and they did it. Now it wasn't 3 people that tried. I think there was like 11 tries, but all but 3. Well, not all 11 made it. I think it was only 5 that made it. 2 were recaptured shortly after they made it. The rest died, or 3 have yet to be to have been found. They could have drowned in the bay. They could have been eaten by sharks, which is highly unlikely because of it's around Alcatraz is fresh water. It's usually fresh, and sharks don't like fresh water. So but it's cold. Well, San Francisco Bay is cold. Bay Area is very cold. Just the way it is. But and might I say that is seeing that, I see the Atlantic Ocean all the time. But it is different. The Pacific Ocean is different. It's like it's different water. But it's different because you're watching it from a different angle of the sun shining on it. Because you get a sunset you can't get a sunset on the East Coast over the Atlantic. You can't do it. Now, if you're in Europe, Eastern or Western Europe, France or Spain or the Atlantic, you're going to get a sunset on the Atlantic, obviously. But if you're in the United States, you're going to get a sunrise on the Atlantic. You're going to get a sunset on the Pacific coast, so over the Pacific Ocean. And that is a sunrise is different looking from a sunset. They don't look the same. And when you're looking at that water from a different angle, it's beautiful. We live in a wonderful, marvelous nation, folks. We really do. And I don't know why people want to change that so badly. I really don't. But Obama's threatened to veto the measure because a number of concerns, including limits on his authority to transfer terrorist suspects from the U.S. military prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for 1 year. But Obama said that although he continued to oppose certain sections of the bill, they need to renew critical defense authorities and funding was too great to ignore. Oh, so now he's going to be the martyr. I will give up my ability to transfer Guantanamo Bay prisoners to the mainland for 1 year in order to protect our diplomats. Well, Mr. President, you're a little late on that. The bill includes cuts in defense spending that the president and congressional Republicans agreed to back in August of 2011, along with the end of the war in Iraq and the drawdowns of American forces in Afghanistan. Well, isn't that special? So now this president can be, he can be the president that intensified and accelerated the war in Afghanistan. He can also be the president that takes credit for ending the Battle of Afghanistan. And everybody's going to remember him for ending it. Not accelerating it or intensifying it. A lot of liberals. See, he's ending the war. They say he's ending the battles in the battle in Afghanistan. Okay, but notice how they're not counting the number of deaths anymore. Remember, we hit 1,000. Oh, that was a 1,000 deaths in Iraq. That was a milestone. And then 2,000 deaths, and then 3,000. And then I think Obama was in office when the 4,000th military personnel died in the war on terror. And now we're seeing, all these people being killed in Afghanistan under the president after he increased the number of soldiers, number of troops in Afghanistan. We see all these Americans being killed over there, but they're not counting the death toll anymore. I don't even know what it is now. Isn't that funny? If Bush were still president, they'd be saying, "Oh yeah, we're one death away from 5,000," and that 5,000 service member would be killed, and they'd be celebrating it. Kind of like they did with the first 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Just pointing out the truth, folks. Pointing out the facts. Simple as that. Hey, speaking of facts, Glenn Beck. This is from the Atlantic Wire. Glenn Beck, as reported, has tried to buy Current TV. The Al Gore thing. But he was rejected. Rejected! Now, the Atlantic is reporting that every once in a while a tweet appears that's so silly it must be a joke, like this one from Glenn Beck, and I quote, "Before Al Jazeera bought Current TV, the Blaze looked into buying it, but we were rejected by its progressive owners." Guess what, says the Atlantic. He's totally serious. The Wall Street Journal caught the detail in its coverage. Glenn Beck's The Blaze approached Current about buying the channel last year, but was told that the legacy of who the network goes to is important to us, meaning Current TV. And we are sensitive to networks not aligned with our point of view, according to a person familiar with the negotiations. So, folks, as we have been saying here on the right all along, and I have told you all along, and some of you doubted me, Current TV has just said that when denying Glenn Beck and his company, The Blaze, from buying Current TV was mainly due to the fact that their point of view is more aligned with Al Jazeera, a Muslim, a terrorist supporting organization. They are more aligned with their daily view with Al Jazeera than they are with an American called Glenn Beck. What more do you need to know about the left? They just admitted that their views are more aligned with radical Muslims than they are with freedom-believing and freedom-loving Americans. Oh, no, we can't sell Current TV to Glenn Beck because, our point of view doesn't line up with his, but we can sell it to Al Jazeera. Well, maybe because, somebody will try to tell me, well, because Al is in the name. Ho, 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 ho. Al Gore. Current TV is a network network founded by former Democratic Vice President Al Gore, later anchored by progressive hero Keith Olbermann, and recently featuring liberal former New York Governor Elliot "I Do What I Want" Spitzer. This is a network that Glenn Beck, the far-right fanatic that was too extreme even for Fox News to handle, wanted to buy. It's entirely unclear how far negotiations between Beck and Current TV got, if anywhere. Can you imagine if they were to die? Beck would have Keith Olbermann would have been working for Glenn Beck. You want to talk about some fireworks, folks? I'm still trying to. I'm still trying to picture that one. Can you see it now? There is going to be a Blaze segment on Current TV, and Keith Olbermann just blowing is stacked. But hey, folks, it's not going to happen. Why? Because, and I said it before, and you never should doubt me, and this proves it, that the left, the radical left, is more aligned and more comfortable with radical Islamist supporting terrorists than they are with freedom-loving Americans. And the sale of current TV to Al Jazeera by Al Gore is proof. And you still doubt me?
I always loved watching the kids play basketball. I still do, even though things have changed. It's funny, they can't find jobs to get their careers started. And I can't afford to retire. And now we're all living together again. I supported President Obama because he spoke so beautifully. He promised change, but things changed for the worse. Obama started spending like our credit cards have no limit. His healthcare law made health insurance even more expensive. We've had stimulus and bailouts. Obama added almost $16,000 in debt for every American. How will my kids pay that off when they can't even find jobs? Now Obama wants more spending and taxes. That won't fix things. I had so many hopes. Cutting taxes and debt and creating jobs. That's the change we need. Tell President Obama to cut the job-killing debt and support the New Majority Agenda at newmajorityagenda.org.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Feeling lonely this holiday season?
Looking for little human interaction? Do you want to feel contact in certain special places?
Then why not go through security at an airport?
The TSA.
TSA agents are ready and standing by to give you a little something extra to feel thankful about this holiday season.
The TSA.
What are you waiting for? I want to check under your testicles.
Spending time with a TSA agent couldn't be easier. Simply book a flight departing from any American airport. When selected for a full body scanner, say no. You'll be pulled aside by a TSA agent, and that's when the fun begins. And you never know who your agent will be.
It could be me. Or me. Or even me.
But it's probably gonna be us. Take off your damn shoes.
The TSA. It's our business to touch yours.
Welcome to the Bureau of Womanhood Conformity. Independent thoughts are considered subversive because all must agree with our leader.
When it comes to women, preventative care should include coverage of contraceptive services such as birth control.
You see, if you don't believe government should pay for your birth control, you're not a real woman. Womanhood denied. If you refuse to accept that pregnancy is a punishment, you're denied as well.
I don't want them punished with a baby.
If you don't believe that abortions should be allowed for any reason, if you don't believe in aborting a child for being the wrong gender, and if you don't believe that stay-at-home mothers aren't real workers, you are not a real conformed woman.
His wife has actually never worked a day in her life. His wife has actually never worked a day in her life.
Finally, for your safety, if you oppose mandatory government health care, you will die.
They will be voting to say that women can die on the floor.
These standards and regulations were formed after our glorious victory in the war on women. Thank you for your cooperation, and your conformity.
Today is a special day. Today we gather as a nation